Order the Administration Committee on Monday, September 19th, 2022. Haley, can we have a roll call, please?
Alderman Ted Grady.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Eisenach.
Here.
Alderman Sevenik.
Here.
Alderman Hammond.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
All are present with the absence of Alderman Nichols.
Thank you very much, Haley. First point on our agenda, we need to approve the minutes for the Administration Committee on 9/6/22. Anybody would like to approve the minutes?
This guy does.
This guy does. Okay. Ted, go ahead.
Well, I'm Tom, but, or you.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, I'm lit.
You're
I'll
lit.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the Administration Committee dated 9/6/22.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Ted Garati, seconded by Alderman Tom Garati. And I'd like to move on to the discussion action items.
Wait, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Good. 0. It passes. 7-0. All right, now the next one, the discussion action items. Number 1, the Third Amendment to the T-Mobile USA Incorporated Tower and Ground Lease Agreement at 455 Baldwin Street, or other people may know it as our city garage. Is there a motion to approve that? Oh, Alderman Sevenik.
Thank you, Vice Chair. At this time, I'll make a motion for the Third Amendment to the T-Mobile USA Incorporated Tower and Ground Lease New Agreement. I don't know if this is, yes, it is an amendment, Third Amendment, at the tower at the City Garage.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Sevenik. Do we have a second? Seconded by Alderman Ted Garati. Thank you, Ted. Okay, now that, we have to vote on this. Oh, sure. Okay. Laura, would you please give us an update on the tower and ground lease agreement?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give a brief explanation as to what exactly this lease agreement would be for. So T-Mobile came in and they are at this point in time looking at removing 3 existing antennas from the tower and will be adding 6 new. So it'll be replacement of 3, addition of 3 more. We have had a couple of amendments previously, as you know here, since this is the 3rd one. So this is just to include those additional 3 antennas and a couple other items that they're going to be replacing while there's some cabling and whatnot. So pretty cut and dry, and it's following in line with the previous amendment as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Laura. All right, now we're moving on to the, we have to vote. We have to vote, please. We can do a voice vote. Everybody who who approves this, please say yay, nay, or nay. Let's say aye. Aye. That works good too. And then any nays? Or as Langdon would have said, no's? Okay. All right, we're good. Let's move on to the second action item. First Amendment to the Development Agreement by and between the City of Menasha and the Atkins Development Group, the Woodland Lakes Cottages.
Chairman?
Yes,
Or Vice Chair, excuse me.
sure.
Could we hear from the Community Development Director first before we make a motion on this?
That would be great to hear from Sam.
Thank you.
Sam, would you like to add some wisdom to this?
Certainly. So basically, what we have here is the First Amendment to the Development Agreement for the Atkins development. This past winter, the City of Menasha and Atkins Group did approve the original development agreement. Basically, what that encompassed is acquiring the original development, or the 19 lots, the 3rd edition of Woodland Hills from Mike Hagan's, as well as developing the rest of the land as part of an HOA or covenanted residential development. This residential development would be a planned unit development, would include common areas such as a clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, and really kind of function as a community, if you will. Since that time, they have begun construction on the original 19 lots that were already platted. They did get the the next phase of the plat approved. They have gotten permits approved from the Army Corps of Engineers as well as the DNR to kind of move this development forward, as well as they actually went out and bidded the project for construction. So similar to all of our subdivisions that we have done, the City of Menasha offers a deferred assessment policy, which basically means the developer actually puts in the infrastructure, and the city pays that developer and holds that cost until such a time that's either agreed upon or those lots sell, and then they are paid back either a minimum per year or as quick as they would sell. So Atkins has gotten going on the original 19 lots. That deferred assessment was paid back immediately when he acquired those from Mike Hagan's, so that there is no longer deferred assessment on that. Many of the houses have already been constructed. I hear every lot but 2 are sold out there, and they're beginning to start the work on phase 1, or this next phase. So they did break out this next phase into 2 phases. This did cause some concern from staffing standpoint, just because of the necessity of phase 2 to actually be constructed. From many reasons, from public safety to traffic patterns, access, stormwater management, as well as just that overall connectivity. So with that, the bid that was originally approved in the deferred assessment in the original development agreement was for roughly $2.4 million. The bids that actually came back in were much higher at $3.6 million. So the kind of the baseline for this amendment is to increase that deferred assessment amount from 2.4 to 3.6 million. However, with that, staff did look over the agreement, update a few of the dates that are out there, as well as look at how do we assure that phase 2 actually gets constructed. So if you would notice in paragraph 7 of that amendment, we did add some language in there that we would not reimburse until the commencement, the substantial commencement of that final phase, basically meaning it's a reimbursement process. So as soon as they receive a bill for $500,000 worth of construction work, they pay that, we would reimburse that. So this, how that's worded is we would not reimburse those costs until they started that final phase. We did have some discussions with this developer late last week, and I believe they wish they would have been here. Or wish they could have been here, excuse me. And basically it was discussed that potentially, because they did not like that language, obviously they do not want all the holding costs of that we would agree to pay what they have currently into the project, and then they would hold all the rest of the costs until they started that phase 2. They do have both phase 1 and phase 2 out. They bidded as well as executed contracts. They have the financing in place for that interim financing. However, just looking at that holding the costs again. So one thing that we would consider, I guess staff does recommend approving this amendment as presented, would possibly be looking at that paragraph 7 to allow for a single payment of preliminary cost. And those preliminary costs would be engineering, wetland credits that have already been acquired, and that's part of the phase 2 project again. And then I believe some Menasha Utilities electrical work. So roughly, I think, just under $500,000.
Oh, Sam, thank you for your insight. Stan, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, first, I guess my questions will be for Sam. So, Sam, this reinvestment, you had mentioned up to, let's say they do 500,000 or something. Where does that come from? I mean, I don't see that. They could do 100,000, or they could do it as they sell lots. So when they start submitting a bill to us, how do we don't have anything, I don't see in the writing, unless you can correct me, that tells them in what increments do they start charging us?
So they have to, it's a reimbursement. so they pay for that cost. Similar to if we were doing a construction project, a lot of those costs come on the back end. We would get, payment number 1, 2, through 5. They would get that same thing. They would pay for that, and then they would submit us an invoice showing that that has been paid, and per the language, we would reimburse them within 30 days, I believe, of that cost. Then we would hold all the costs, and they would, at the time of sale, or a minimum of 8 lots per year, they would sell, they would pay back that portion of that deferred assessment.
8 lots?
I believe 8 lots. It's, I think it's about 80 lots taken over the course of 10 years. But again, I think they have done very well on selling and constructing on the lots that they currently have.
When we had the initial agreement, wasn't it just for the development, development and not different phases?
Yeah, so that, there is some reasoning behind breaking it out into 2 phases. This was recommended by them from their engineering firm that was working on this. So the top half, all the water and the sanitary flow to the north, and the bottom half flows to the south. That's one. Secondly, there is a lot of fill that's needed on the bottom half. So when you kind of scrape the top half and you're building basements, that's fill that you can now add to the bottom half. So that's kind of that stepping approach. And then just the soil conditions of the top versus the bottom. There is a condition, there is different soil conditions from top to bottom, which drives up unit prices slightly on the bottom half. So their thought process of breaking it into different phases was to get a cheaper price on the top phase versus getting your unit price on the bottom phase for the entire thing. But again, and they've even looked at it of, don't look at it as phases, look at it as we're starting on top half and, and we're gonna roll right into the bottom half. They've kind of stated, I think their contract is hopeful that November, December of this year, they're already starting on the bottom half and they would be completely done with both phases by the end of March of next year.
Do you have in place a situation, because it is in phases now, that we are protected, like a 2008-9 situation where all of a sudden there just is no houses being sold, or, people right now today, it ain't gonna happen, but it did. It happened in 2008. We had a great development called Lake Park, and it pretty much, the company the city went in business with, which I was the only council member to vote against, went bankrupt. So does this agreement help to protect us from something like that?
So that added protection of that by not paying out until they started that phase 2, so that's ensuring that connectivity happens. Once we have paid out that deferred assessment up front, though, our investment has been into the project. That said, this is more of a special assessment capacity, so that special assessment will go against that property. So should something happen, it would be my understanding that the bank would just kind of take that over, and then it would be on their aspect to pay that off. I have had several conversations with the bank, the Atkins Development Group's bank, over the last several weeks, and they feel very confident with where Mr. Atkins is at with this development and with his overall developments and the process, as well as progress that he's been making.
I have to apologize to the council that I'm asking all these questions, but I have to do it because this is too important. We have an agreement about the clubhouse. I know that's already in the existing thing, but where are we with that? I thought we were supposed to be further down along with the clubhouse on this particular, not waiting till the other phases are done.
Yeah, certainly. So per the development agreement, the clubhouse, there was not a commencement date of construction on that. There was only a completion date of end of December of 2023. That said, they could not start construction on the clubhouse until the CSM was approved. Well, excuse me, not approved, recorded, and they could not record the CSM until the plat was recorded. They could not record the plat until they had all the permitting from the Corps and the DNR and all the state representatives sign
That's
off
all?
on that. Well, so that all took through this past spring. That's how long that took. So the CSM, I believe, was just recorded maybe just a couple weeks ago. So with that, they can finally get their building permit, and I think it already has state approval, or it will be getting state approval as a commercial building. And I believe Mr. Atkins has noted the sooner he can construct that clubhouse, the sooner the HOA will also be collecting fees to actually use that clubhouse as well.
Next question I have is, do you see any issues down the road with there being another exit entrance onto 114? I see that little blue line that kind of indicates maybe a road. I know they're using it now for some of the trucks and that to go in and out, but is the DOT going to allow for that, or where are we with that? Because I think it's important to have another artery in and out of the place, but we have to realize it's a state highway.
Yeah, certainly. So we've been working with Mike Hagens for several years on that. And then when the Atkins Development Group came in, that was a necessity, a secondary access into this development. And that's one of the biggest reasons about the concerns with breaking into phase 1 and phase 2 from an emergency standpoint. Our first option was to go out to Highway 10, State Road 114, and the state denied that. We had several conversations with them. Both the city submitted letters, the Atkins, Hagens, their engineering firms, and it was persistent that it was a no answer. That's why we changed our route to look at going to Kelly Lake Drive, and we're able to obtain those permits for that fashion. The way the plat is designed does not permanently take that option out of the picture, that we could potentially connect it down there in the future, but at this time it would not be feasible.
Okay. And then my last basically comment is that City of Menasha, as far as I'm concerned, or no, I should say, we're one of the very few communities that offer a deferred assessment policy. And yet we're still jumping through hoops for developers and that. And I'm happy to see this development, but it seems like we give a mile and they want a mile and a half. So anyways, I will vote for this amendment.
Thank you, Alderman Sevenick. Right now, we're looking to take a vote. Staff would recommend that the Administration Committee... Oh, anybody else have any comments? I saw no lights. All right, staff would recommend the Administration Committee recommend approval of the First Amendment of the Development Agreement by and between the City of Menasha and Atkins Development Group for the Woodland Lakes Cottages. So I'm going to like to take a voice vote, please. All those who approve. Oh, do we have a motion?
Oh, I thought you made that.
I would like to, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve I just got done reading. I'll read it again, but...
Right up there, Randy.
Oh, well, make a motion to approve the First Amendment of the Development Agreement by and between the City of Menasha and Atkins Development Group, Woodland Lakes Cottages. Second. I have a second by Alderman Schmidt. Thank you very much. Oh, we have a question from Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
So Chair, I did indicate earlier concerns with paragraph 7 from the Atkins Development Group to possibly look at a slight amendment to that to allow for payment of that initial work that's already been completed, and then no more work until the second phase commences. Just wanted to bring that up. I will leave it at that. If you wanted to add that to your motion, that staff could draft that for the following council meeting, or not.
Okay, we'll add that to the motion that staff is, we'll add that to to the amendment that staff is able to draft a draft document for the second phase of the project to be completed. So I'll leave that up to Sam, but please include that in our motion. So Sam is going to get that ready for us for the following council meeting. But I'm still looking for I did make the motion.
We've got the motion on.
Yeah,
We'd have to make an amendment to the motion, but we should probably vote on this first.
we'll vote first.
City attorney?
Suggesting we make an amendment first
Okay.
to that two-year motion.
Okay, so let's make an amendment to that.
City attorney.
The city attorney.
Oh,
I'm not sure what's being done here.
Neither am I.
Because,
So go ahead.
well, somebody has to.
Okay.
There's a motion that's been made
Right,
and
yes.
seconded. That's
Correct.
on the floor. Is it my understanding that that the committee is asking the director to bring an amendment back next week? Or at the next council meeting? To this agreement?
Or we could do it now.
We could do it now, but he doesn't have it drafted.
Well, that's my question, because I'm not sure you can approve the agreement if you're going to say we're going to amend it in 2 weeks.
Okay, you're right.
So I guess
That's why I had my light.
Okay.
what is the wishes of the community, of the committee?
Probably to make an amendment to this original motion and probably have to,
Let's first vote on the first.
let's vote on this and then we should
Offer on the-
Wait,
offer an amendment.
Wait, Mr. Chairman, if you vote on this, you can't amend it because it's been taken care
Okay,
of.
so we can't vote on this.
You can make an amendment now if there's an alderman who wishes to do that, and perhaps with their light on, they're
Postpone it or
indicating
no?
that.
Could we postpone it? No.
Yeah, we
Okay.
could, but Sam said no.
Okay. All right, so Stan, would you?
So basically, Sam has asked us to, on section 7,
Yes,
to offer an amendment,
correct.
and I did not write down that amendment, so Sam, if you could please restate it, and then I will offer that as an amendment to the motion.
So to amend paragraph 7, modifying the language to allow for an initial payment in the amount of $500,000 to be made prior to and so may I ask the city attorney, can it be an amendment for staff and the attorney to bring back that language? Still allow this to be approved and bring back that language?
Can I answer that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you may have. Thank you. Go ahead.
You can do that, but then you would have to bring that amendment back for approval and have the other side approve it as well beforehand. Because you're essentially drafting a second amendment to the agreement to amend that paragraph.
I say we table this until next.
So, I mean, I guess, so the
Yeah, so it would,
it would read to reimburse, so at the end of the last sentence, no reimbursement costs for engineering and design will be paid to this, by the city prior to the commencement of the initial infrastructure and substantial commencement of the final phase of the project, and a signed approved affidavit of wet metal credit purchase is provided to the city, except those costs that are occurred prior to the execution of this amendment.
Haley wrote that all down.
She wasn't able to catch up. It was pretty lengthy.
Costs.
Yes.
Costs, so.
Walsh, right?
Well,
No, he didn't. Attorney Walsh?
can you repeat that for the clerk to take that down?
Certainly.
Slowly.
No?
So adding to the last sentence,
Correct.
accept those costs that are incurred prior to the date of this amendment.
Accept those costs. That are-
Is that the amendment? Is that your recommendation? Mr. Chairman, I guess I would have the chair ask a member of the committee to make that amendment.
Okay. Stan, would you like to make that amendment? And Haley, do you have that
Let
written
Haley
down?
type it up, and then we'll
Okay.
be doing this
Yep.
appropriately.
We'll see what Haley types up here. Accept those costs that are determined.
And this will be an amendment to the motion. We will vote on the amendment.
Right.
Then we'll vote on the whole thing as amended.
Gotcha.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like Mr. Vice Chair to offer an amendment to accept those costs that occurred prior to the dates of this amendment.
Okay, do we have a?
Accept and spend neighborhood investment fund grants.
Could I,
No,
No, that's a different.
that's the
That's
wrong
a
one.
different
No.
one.
Could-
Why
I
did
mean,
someone read that?
I know who you meant.
Go ahead,
Could-
attorney.
Could we, thank you. It's been corrected.
Good, thank you.
Is there a second?
Is there a second for this?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Schmidt. So right now, we're looking for a voice vote to approve the roll call for the First Amendment. For this amendment, to accept those costs that occurred prior to the dates of this amendment. So could we have a voice vote on this, please? Or let's do a roll call. Let's do a roll call. Let Haley do that.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to do the next one, the First Amendment to develop an agreement by and between the City of Menasha and Atkins Development Group, Woodland Lakes Cottages. So is there a motion?
Wait, Mr. Chairman, it's already on the floor. It can be voted on right now.
Let's vote
But
on it.
it's the thank you, Alderman.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, so let's please do a roll call with this motion as amended. Thank you very much. Just push it.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to number 3. Accept and spend neighborhood investment fund grant on Water Street. And so I'd like to make, is there a motion to approve? Oh, Sam, would you like to discuss this first and let us know what's going on with Water Street?
I guess so, my light just came on.
Good, I'm glad it came on. Magic by Ted.
You're talking or you like it or not?
Certainly. So in 2019, the City of Menasha looked at the Water Street corridor and trying to improve that corridor by adding connectivity through our trail system. We have a great improving downtown. We have an underutilized corridor, a street that has been in the CIP that continues to be pushed back. So we kind of took a look at what we should develop this corridor into. And that vision at that time was really looking at trail connection, shore wall improvements, street improvements, the connectivity to the downtown, as well as potential future land uses of that corridor. So that plan was done. We did apply for a neighborhood investment grant, neighborhood investment fund grant earlier or late in November, this past fall of 2021. The state did award that grant, this neighborhood investment grant, to the City of Menasha in the amount of $2 million, do I have the number in there? $2,074,000. We did take a look at that. We do have basically an opportunity now to accept and spend that grant. Portion of that was looking at how do we update the numbers. Obviously, since 2019, as well as last year, construction numbers are constantly on the rise. So we did take a look and looked at opportunities of where we could fund that gap from through the CIP of the streets, general fund, the sanitary stormwater funds, Menasha utility water, some TIF districts, as well as other grants and donations. Certainly that does not mean we would stop looking for other funding sources, but basically we estimate this project to be right now probably about 4.2 million. So covering roughly half would be this neighborhood investment fund grant. So at this time, the recommendation would be to accept and spend the neighborhood investment grant for the Water Street project and commit $25,000 of ARPA funding to assist in the administration of the grant and kind of kick off the engineering design service as well as look for other funding. So staff does recommend we accept and spend.
Thank you very much. Sam, Stan, any comments?
Yes,
Question?
thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion, but then right after, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we accept and spend $2,074,000 from the Neighborhood Investment Grant that we received from the state of Wisconsin for Water Street project, and commit $25,000 of the ARPA funding to assist in the administration of grants and the commencement of engineering and design services in the future.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Sevenick and Alderman Tom Garati.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I had a nice opportunity to talk to the governor on this, Governor Evers, and I thanked him on our behalf for this grant. I was very involved with this, as many of the other council members. We've attended several meetings. There was a lot of public input on this. Boy, if there's ever been a project that we needed to take care of in the city that really made a major improvement, I would think this is the project. And I'm glad that we're finally stepping forward. I didn't think this was going to happen, really. The grant is what's saving us on this. And I'm also very pleased to see that there is some ARPA money going towards this. But I really think that this project is going to change Menasha. I really think that we have the potential of making once this is done, it is going to showcase Menasha's waterfront like it's never been before. This is a beautiful project. I just recently shared it with my colleague to my left. Sam wasn't available. Man, if we can do this project and it can turn out to be half as nice as the renderings, it really beautifies Menasha. And I really think this is going to spur on added development to our community. And I think we're going to get more of something that we haven't really pushed enough in our community, and that's tourism. And if we can get that locks opened, this is going to make Menasha shine. So I'm really looking forward to this. I hope I live long enough to see it. That's what I would say before. I think I will. That's how important this is, I think, especially the people that live in that area. This is really going to clean up probably one of the last areas of Menasha that needs some serious cleaning. And I hope everyone votes for it.
So we had the motion by Alderman Sevenick. We had it approved seconded by Alderman Tom Garati. We still have a comment from Mr. Ted Garati.
Thanks, Vice Chair. Excuse me. This question is probably for the mayor because it involves the ARPA money. So of the $150,000 that we set aside for grant writing, this is going to take $25,000 of that, so we'll be down to $120. Okay. Thank you.
I do have one comment. I walked down the canal yesterday. We just need to get that water flowing, so whether if the locks open up, which I hope they do, somehow we need to get that water flowing, because otherwise it's just, the ducks can walk on that water. And so we just need to make it more inviting to walk down, and I suppose it's kind of cool to watch the ducks walk on the green algae, but that's all my comment. So we need to have a roll call vote, so Haley, do your magic.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much, Haley. So with that, I would like to have an adjournment. So do we have a motion for adjournment?
Second?
Seconded by, first by Alderman Schmidt, and then seconded by Alderman Ted Garati. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.